The energy.
Can we all just admit that I was right about Mac Jones from the start? He's good. He's not great. And they have made him worse by what they have done to him this year.
The passion.
This UVM team is the most athletic team I can remember in the 8 years I've been covering them. They're that fast. They're that quick. They're that bouncy.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
Craig Breslow might be great, but he's got to start spending money. I think he's going to, but he better start soon.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. We're switching it up a little bit today, okay? We are switching it up a little bit today. Danny and I each had interesting sporting weekends. I got to leave some time for stories. And the Patriots, frankly, don't have much to unpack today. So we're not unpacking the Patriots at 5:45. We'll talk about the game kind of interspersed throughout the show. We'll get into it a little bit more after 6. But what a crazy weekend. Danny went to Foxborough for Patriots Chargers. I went to Burlington on Saturday night. My dad came up. We went to UVM and Yale saw the Cats and Bulldogs in what was the craziest in-person sporting event that I've ever seen before, and it was all over social media. If you didn't watch this game or follow it, you need to hear what happened and how it happened. And I turned my fan experience into a work trip as well. I went to post-game and talked to Coach Becker after that game about a lot of stuff. We'll do some takeaways on the Cats. UVM women won yesterday as well. And Bill Russell's going to stop by at 6:30. He's the new football coach over at Norwich University, 15 years on staff. Now he's the head football coach. Actually, I used to live with Bill Russell. There's a story that I'll tell as we get a little closer to that as well. So Bill Russell will be with us at about 6:30. You can get in on the text line 802-585-3026. That's 802-585-3026. I am here. You are here. Danny is here. Danny, let go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show were brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. Also Rouse's Point, so I guess they are upstate New York's also complete locally owned home center. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. So the Patriots get beat 6-0. 6-0. And Danny, in the process, the Patriots made history. Now, again, when you're at the game and you're not watching the game and you're traveling back from the game and you're not necessarily married to your phone, this is the one thing I found when I would go to the games that I would kind of miss some of this nuance. Are you aware? Are you even aware today of what history the Patriots have made?
Something about allowing points and being the first team since 19 whatever.
They're like the first team, I believe, in NFL history to lose 3 straight games in which they allowed 10 points or less.
That's the one.
They lost 10-6 in Germany against the Colts. They lost 10-7 against the Tommy DeVito-led Giants, and yesterday they lost 6-0. So the defense has played well. The offense has been atrocious. The weather yesterday didn't help. It just a total clown show. The Patriots are 2-10. The chances of them getting a top 2 pick in the draft are absolutely rising. Again, there's not a whole lot to say about the play on the field. We'll talk a little bit about Zappe and what we saw, this, that, and the other. But, Danny, I just got to ask you. No, first and foremost, I got to get some data from you here, okay? I need you to use your memory, and I got to get some data for you, okay?
Let's go.
So, I know how much the tickets cost, so I'm not including that. I know how much the tickets cost, so that cost I'm already factoring in. How much gas did you spend over the course of this weekend? You drove to Albany to meet your brother. You drove from Albany back. How much money in gas did you spend this weekend?
Not $30. My car's pretty full efficient, actually.
Okay, so you spent $30 total on gas. Okay, I'm writing that down. So $30 on gas. Did you and your brother go out to eat on Saturday night, or did he make food at home when you got there?
Yeah, I think we ate at home, actually.
Okay, so did you eat out at all on Sunday? Did you eat at the stadium? Did you eat on your way back home? Did you buy any food at any point during your trip on Sunday?
Lunch, beer at the stadium. Yep, that racked up. I mean, geez, I don't know. quite a bit. How much was a beer when you were there? That's probably
Like
about the same price.
$12.
Yeah, something like that, 10 to 12. So
you each had one or two?
each had a couple. Burger was probably $12 as well. Yeah.
Okay, so how much do you think you spent on food and drinks? 50?
Probably 50. Yeah, round it off.
So $30 in gas, 50 in food. Trying to think, did you buy any souvenirs or anything?
Yeah, it's an interesting one actually. The souvenir cup that comes with your drink.
So you paid more. You paid more for a beer in order to get the cup.
They don't put beer in it. They put soda. So that's a story for later. It was supposed to be this Sobe water is what it's called, I guess. I don't really drink it often, but turns out it was just water. It was not mixed correctly. Didn't realize that till after I got back to my seat. So I paid
got a cup.
$12 for water.
All right.
With a nice cup, souvenir cup.
So we're up to about $65 here. Anything else you could think of over the weekend that you spent extra expenses on?
Dinner on the way back, another $10, $12, $15.
All right. So, okay. And then the train tickets for you and your brother were like $15 each, right?
Actually, those were only 10.
All right. So bottom line is you spent about $100 extra plus what the tickets cost, 2 tickets. So, between your costs and the tickets, I'm going to estimate that you spent about $500. You and your brother spent about $500 this weekend. Does that sound fair?
Sounds about accurate. Yeah.
Okay. I am going to start a GoFundMe among our listeners because you should not have had to pay $500 to see what you saw yesterday, to see a 6-0 shutout in which the Patriots punted or turned it over on downs every single possession. You or the fumble from Stevenson, you should not have had to pay $500. I would like you to get reimbursed for that. So I need to figure out how to set up a GoFundMe so I can learn how Danny can get his money back, because you and your brother do not deserve to be out $500. They should be paying you for having sat through that garbage. I hope you had a good time with your brother. It'll be a good story down the road. Hey, bro, remember that time we went to that game that sucked? Hey, remember the time we saw the worst game of the Patriots post Tom Brady era? Hey, remember that time? Oh, that was pretty good, huh? No, you don't need to spend $500 for that. That was atrocious.
Well, if I get a refund, then every fan there should too.
Every fan there should get a refund. I mean, Robert Kraft should be embarrassed. Bill Belichick should be embarrassed. Tom Brady should be. Everybody should be embarrassed about what this franchise has become. 6-0. This is 2023. I felt like I was watching Iowa from Saturday night play Michigan. Okay, this is 2023. You know how easy it is to get a first down? I was actually talking with my buddy saying, hey, offense has gotten so easy, bro. What if they made it 15 yards to get a first down instead of 10? And he was actually, hey, you know what? That's not a bad idea. So we're talking about trying to find out ways to make it difficult to get first downs. The Patriots can barely get first downs. Forget touchdowns. They can't get first downs. We started out the year talking about how the Patriots could be better in the red zone. They can't even get to the red zone now. It's not like, hey, how can they, we used to be, hey, how can they finish inside the 20s? How can they cap off drives with touchdowns? They can't even they can barely get past midfield. Nearly the entire day yesterday was started with the Patriots starting inside their own 15. I mean, they did nothing well yesterday. And it's been a continuation. And I know the weather was bad. Okay. I know the weather was bad, but still, you're an NFL team. There should be some semblance of representative offense in an NFL game. You're at no point. My Seahawks, who I think are not very good offense, scored 35 on Dallas the other day. 35. The Patriots get 0. And you know what? They've been shut out twice this year. But Danny, they got beat 34-0, I think, by New Orleans. They got beat 6-0 yesterday. But they've been shut out twice at home. They got pummeled 37-something by Dallas, in which they barely scored. The Patriots are barely averaging 10 points a game. Let's go through this. I think the Patriots have scored 20 points this season one time, right? I mean, let's just run through it. Opening day this year, Patriots scored 20 against Philly. They got 17 against Miami. They got 15 against the Jets. They got 3 against Dallas, 0 against the Saints, 17 against Vegas, 29 against the Bills, 17 against Miami again, 17 against Washington, 6, 7, and 0. They have scored 21 points or more this season exactly one time. This is not football. This is not football in 2023.
Twice the Bills game.
Minus the Bills game. This is absurd. right? Like, and everything that they try to do seems to go wrong, right? They want to establish the run. Stevenson gets hurt. I feel bad for him. He looked like he could have been off to a good day yesterday. He gets hurt. They don't get Elliott involved enough after that. Zappy does some nice things, kind of being mobile outside the pocket, but he throws behind Hunter Henry on a ball on a key situation. He throws a screen pass to Elliott that Elliott's got to lunge for, which throws off the timing of the play. And then Parker gets the ball, gets an opportunity down the field, and Parker can't keep his feet in bounds, same as Kayshon Boutte couldn't in week one. Tyquan Thornton, who's there to be a deep threat, who's there to stretch the defense, lets one go right through his hands. That one's not on Zappy. Zappy's numbers will reflect he didn't throw for very many yards, and he didn't have a great completion percentage. He should have had about 50 more yards and another completion right there. Thornton, that ball goes right through his hands. Same as the ball against Vegas when it went right through Parker's hands. This team is just bad. Right, they're just bad. Some of you are happy that they're losing and they're going to get a top 2 pick, and that's fine. When April comes, I'll be happy too that they have a top 2 pick. But right now, I'm not. Right now, actually, Danny, truthfully, I am upset at myself that I built my day around that. Like, and I'm sure I'm like a lot of you. I built my day around watching the Patriots, right? I didn't do certain things, or I cut certain things short, or I didn't get things I wanted to get done around the house because when 1 o'clock hit, I needed to watch the Patriots. And that's what the performance we got was. And I think about Danny and his brother, who spent $500 in total to go to this game, and that's the performance they got. It's not right. It's not fair. And I get that the Patriots have been, the Patriots have been so good that we've been spoiled. And I understand taking a step back and taking a step to the back of the line for a little while. I do get that. And I am not as greedy of a fan to expect you have to be 12-5 every single year, right? I get that there's cycles to this thing. But what we're seeing this year, this is beyond what my understanding is, right? I think about the Seahawks, who were really good for a long time with Russ. They went 6-11 Russ's last year, and I was like, okay, they've been in the playoffs a bunch. They won a Super Bowl a handful of years earlier. I can get 6-11. Now they're kind of 9-8-ish, 8-9-ish. This year they're 6-6. Like, they're taking kind of appropriate step backs as far as I'm concerned, where they're still interesting, but they're not at the level that they were. The Patriots are so far below that, it's not even fun. It's not even fun to watch that. I mean, Danny, talk to me a little bit about your experience at the game. You had been to one NFL game in your life. Did you find yesterday fun?
In a way, yes. How pathetic it was still fun to watch, but it also felt like nothing happened. There was 3 hours of football and no scoring. Barely any ball movement at all.
Do you think it was fun just because you were with your brother?
If I was there alone, it would be even sadder. Yes.
Okay. And I think you're probably right. Like, the memory of it will be fun. The game itself, I don't know the game itself was that fun. I mean, that was atrocious. And John in Moncton says, defense played well enough to win. Both teams had to deal with the weather. Pathetic performance by the offense. Correct. Pathetic performance by the offense. Joe says, can we please play Malik Cunningham the rest of the season? Zappy showed nothing. How could you not score a touchdown? You're an NFL team. It's embarrassing. I think a high school team could beat us. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but yes, it's embarrassing.
Malik was active. Why didn't he even go as a wide receiver?
They said there's a, quote, package of plays for Malik Cunningham. Well, I didn't see any packages of plays. You know what's really sad too, Danny, is I didn't start that game on time. I mentioned being in my seat at 1 o'clock to watch. I was watching on tape for a little while and catching up. I caught up so quickly because the game was going so fast, because all it was running plays and short completions, that usually these games take 3.5 hours, and it kind of takes forever to catch up when you don't start on time. I caught up very, very easily because this game was going so quick, because nothing was happening.
They probably ran out of TV timeouts because of all the punts.
There were a lot of punts. Find out if you got more stories. We'll hear them in the 6 o'clock hour. But I am frustrated. You are frustrated as fans, and I'm trying to create a GoFundMe so Danny and his brother can get their money back, because nobody should have had to pay to watch that. No one should have had to pay $500 total for the weekend to watch that. That was despicable. I had a more enjoyable time, at least in terms of the game that I saw Saturday night. Catamounts and Yale the wildest sporting event I've ever been to in person. I'll tell you what happened and how it happened, and a little bit of a couple of intricacies about a couple little details that people may have missed. Talk about that next on DEV. The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont and upstate New York's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Just because you're away from your radio or out of our broadcast range doesn't mean you have to miss out. Listen live on the WDEV stream, brought to you by AARP Vermont. WDEV's morning, midday, and afternoon news services, Vermont Viewpoint, and the Brady Farkas Show can all be found on the WDEV stream at WDEVradio.com. Brought to you by AARP Vermont, helping Vermonters protect themselves from identity theft and fraud. More information at aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork.
Our son Arjun was 6 weeks old and already had his first intestinal surgery when he was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. CF is a rare, genetic, life-shortening disease that affects every organ in the body and makes breathing difficult. At age 3.5, Arjun looks completely normal, but on his belly are scars from being in the operating room 9 times, which can be a reminder of our family's daily fight to extend his life. Thanks to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, we know we are not in this fight alone. When the foundation was founded in 1955, children with CF rarely lived long enough to attend kindergarten. Today, thanks to the foundation's groundbreaking research, advocacy, and care, some people with CF are attending college, getting married, and starting families. But there's still much work to be done. Until CF stands for Cure Found for all people with CF, including those like my son Arjun, we will not stop. Help us add tomorrows. Visit cff.org today.
Hi, this is Anson Tebbets, co-host of For the Birds, heard Saturdays on WDEV. Each week, Chip Darmstadt and I discuss bird sightings, bird counts, and activity at your feeder. You also can listen anytime to podcasts on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Join us Saturdays at 7:30 and 12:15 for the Birds. 28 years on WDEV AM and FM and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Hi, I'm Brent Curtis. High school basketball on WDEV gets started Wednesday, December 13th from Hazen Union High School in Hardwick with the Dave Morris Invitational. Opening games on Wednesday night, consolation and championship games on Friday. And tune in all season long for the biggest high school basketball game in Central Vermont on Northfield Savings Bank High School Basketball on WDEV, presented by Jolly Convenience Stores.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. So while Danny was on his way to freezing and getting rained on in Foxborough, I was in Burlington on Saturday night for UVM and Yale. My dad came up as well, and so I was his first Catamounts game, actually. And so I was excited for him to see the environment, to see Patrick Jim, shake hands with some people. And so I was excited for him to come up and be a part of it. And I was excited for the game, right? Yale, very good Ivy League opponent, preseason favorite in their league. They beat UVM by 30 the last year that they played, last season. And here came UVM at 6-2. So I was excited for the game in general. What I didn't realize is that the game was going to be the wildest game I've ever seen in person. And I have seen a lot of different sporting events in person, right? Like I've been to the NCAA tournament multiple times. I've seen teams clinch spots to get to the Final Four. I was there when North Carolina beat Wisconsin in 2008 or something, and eventually went on to win the national championship. I saw Carmelo play in the NCAA tournament to get to the year that Syracuse won the title in 2003. I've been to a game 1 of the World Series before. Like I've seen cool sporting events. I've never seen anything like this. This game, UVM beats Yale 66-65, and the game was everywhere on social media. It was the most insane finish I've ever seen in person to any sport. Texter says it sounds like it had a March Madness kind of atmosphere. It absolutely did. It was a great crowd first and foremost, and then the game was there to match. The play that is the defining play of the game, we'll get to in a second, was number 4 on SportsCenter's top plays on Saturday night. Like, that's how crazy this game was. So let me walk you through what happened. UVM wins the game 66-65, but they were trailing 65-60 with 3.8 seconds to play. 3.8 seconds to play. They're down 5. There's no way they can or should win this game, and they do. So let's kind of start from the beginning. UVM gets up big early, like 11-2, right? They come out, they're hitting threes. TJ Long shooting well. They're playing well. They're playing good defense. Yale's got a 7-footer that can't really get going. Then Yale starts to become Yale again. The pace gets slowed down. UVM's in the half court, can't generate as much offense. Yale starts to come back. UVM, it's 44-44. Nick Fiorillo gets a nice three-point play. They're up 47-44. Now we're going back and forth. And then with a handful of minutes to play, UVM's like up 3 or something like that. Yale gets back to down 1. Then Shamir Bogues tries to go to the lane, hurts his ankle badly, and he's down on the ground. Yale plays 5-on-4, scores, takes the lead, goes up, I believe, 61-60. Bogues has to leave the game. That's one of UVM's best players. My dad asked me who are the players to watch on UVM, and I mentioned Bogues kind of being their guy. So he's out for the last little bit of the game. Cats end up getting down 65-60, right? I think they score another bucket, Yale does, 2 free throws, 65-60. And UVM had a chance to tie it. It was 63-60. Deloney had a look at a 3, missed it. 2 free throws happen. Yale goes up 65-60. There's 3.8 seconds to play. So now UVM is taking the ball out. The game's over practically. The inbounder just throws it to Deloney at half court. Deloney goes in and gets an uncontested layup. And I looked at my dad. I rolled my eyes and I said, I made a comment. I said, I wonder if that covered the spread. Ha, ha, ha. Like, it's just a useless bucket. I wonder if it did something. So it's 65-62 with 0.6 seconds to play. 0.6, 65-62. All Yale needs to do is get the ball in bounds, and they're good, basically, right? Get the ball in bounds and run around. Clock runs out. Get the ball in bounds, draw a foul. More time comes off. You go shoot free throws with like 0.1. Well, as Yale's trying to get open, the guy who's trying to get the ball runs over TJ Hurley. So TJ Hurley draws the foul. UVM then gets the ball back with 0.6 seconds underneath the basket they're trying to score at, which is where Yale has turned it over. And with 0.6 seconds left, Danny, Aaron Deloney's taking the ball out underneath, and this happens.
Deloney, long. He puts it in. Oh,
and they called the foul. So TJ Long catches a pass so Deloney cross-courts a pass from underneath the bucket to TJ Long, who catches it. And basically, he doesn't have time to dribble. 0.6 seconds left. Doesn't have time to dribble. He just kind of leans his body to the left to give him a little space, hits it off the glass, gets fouled, and then UVM, with 0.3 seconds left on the clock, Long hits a free throw, and UVM wins it 66-65. It was insane. It was insane. And Danny, you know what? There was 2 very interesting things that happened in the final stretch that are kind of like nerdy basketball things to wonder about or pick up, but I think they're important here. One, when TJ Hurley drew the offensive foul, I and everybody else was wondering, why is UVM not getting free throws here? Danny, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
were they not in the bonus?
UVM is in the bonus. UVM should be getting free throws whenever there's a foul. So I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, Hurley got fouled with 0.6 seconds left. He's going to have to go to the line, and now he's going to have to make one. He's going to have to try to miss the second. They're going to have to try to get a tip in and see what happens. That did not happen. There were no free throws given to Hurley. I was surprised about that because I'm trying to think, we're in the bonus. Why are there no free throws happening? Why is UVM being given this opportunity to take the ball out to get off a shot? A foul should mean free throws. I asked John Becker after the game about it, he also was confused. I don't mean to play this to make Becker look bad or anything. Not everybody knows every single rule of their sport. Head coaches included, Danny.
I guess it's an off-ball foul, and so there's no free throws, which ended up helping us. But I never, there are a couple, foul situations where it doesn't result in free throws. I'm not as buttoned up on all the rules as I probably should be as a basketball coach, but that was like a player control. That was like I forget what they call it. But basically it's an off-ball foul, dead ball. It's a dead ball foul. It's a dead ball foul is what it was. So there's no free throw.
I know in the NBA they don't call those. Like they don't shoot free throws on offensive fouls. So
on offensive fouls in general. So if you take a charge, it's not a foul.
Yes, I don't know if college has different rules for that. That's still a good question.
So the bottom line is like, look, not everybody. I mean, I'll admit it. I did not know the rule at the time. When I first saw TJ Hurley get fouled, I thought free throws were coming. The dead ball thing, I actually ran into Tim McQuiston from the Vermont Business Magazine at the game, Danny, and he asked me that question. And my first answer to him was, I don't think you shoot free throws on a dead ball foul. Once I had like 10 minutes to process what had happened, I went and asked Becker for kind of clarification on that and basically, hey, am I right here? And that's the answer that he gave me. So Hurley draws the foul, no free throws come. They get the chance for the three. The other thing that's interesting, Danny, is there were 0.3 seconds on the clock, right? So let me back up. Long, they take it out with 0.6. Long shoots, makes the shot, and somehow there was only 0.3 still on the clock. That game should have been over. Yale ended up getting a desperation heave to try to win this game back. Never should have happened. Okay? But the time Deloney passes the ball to Long, he catches it, takes a little sidestep or a little lean, shoots it, has it hit the backboard, go in the hoop, and go through the bottom of the net. That's 0.6 seconds plus. Trust me, that game should have been over.
They're saying from catch to whistle was only 0.3.
What they did, and they did this incorrectly, was Long catches it, shoots it. They call the foul. They blew the whistle right at the foul call. And I believe it should have been let the ball play through the net and then the clock stops. So I think the clock should have been at 0 and Long should have been at the free throw line to win it with no time on the clock. Instead, they say from the time he catches it, shoots, gets fouled, they just give him that only. I think the whistle should have gone. They can blow the whistle, but the clock, I think, gets to keep going until the play ends.
This is really in the weeds here, but I believe the clock stops once the whistle goes, but then they go and review and they can find the exact moment the foul took place and then reset the clock from there. But 0.3 is not enough time to get a shot off usually. Like, I think Steph Curry's the fastest in the league at 0.4.
So, remember, they had 0.6. So
right, so they're taking half of that. Right?
Yeah.
They put back on the clock.
Oh, so you're saying that he never there should have been less time because 0.3 is the quickest you can get a shot.
I would say if they reset the clock, there would be like 0.1 and you wouldn't even have enough time. It would have to be a tip.
Well, you might be right about that. Well, you're definitely right about that. I mean, and Long, he didn't catch it and instantly chuck it. Like he caught it and then took that little sidestep. He definitely took more than 0.3. I agree with you on that. I also think I also thought that the ball should have been, the clock shouldn't have stopped until the ball went through the basket. If you are right that it stops on the minute the whistle is blown, therefore the minute contact has happened, I still think there should have been 0 time left on the clock because of what you're saying about how quick it was to get a shot off. It was nuts. It was insane. And we got a lot of takeaways from that game. And I got a lot of audio from Coach Becker, and we got stuff from TJ Long and a couple things that really stood out to me that we'll get to as well. But UVM is now 7-2, and they're going to play Northeastern this week, I believe, on Wednesday, and they'll get Colgate at home again on Saturday. I won't be at that one, but good stuff all the way around. Catamounts 7-2 with the comeback win. Now it's all about is Shamir Bogues okay? Right now it's about is Shamir Bogues okay, because that's a guy they can't afford to be out. They don't have enough athleticism to not have their most athletic player. Hopefully Shamir Bogues is all right. We'll see what happens. Becker said he'd been battling an ankle injury. Then he gets the re-aggravated ankle injury on Saturday night. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. And my dad was impressed with the Catamounts, and he got to see the best game in the 8 years that I've been around as well. Unpacking the Patriots. That's next on DEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica Ricks. Israel's expanded its bombing campaign in southern Gaza following the collapse of its temporary ceasefire with Hamas. CBS's Chris Livesay reports this comes as the U.S. pushes for another pause to free more hostages.
More than 130 hostages remain in the clutches of Hamas. 8 of them are American, including 23-year-old Hirsch Goldberg Poland, his mother, Rachel Goldberg.
If Hirsch somehow, somewhere can hear this, just know we love you. Stay strong. Survive. We're coming.
Houthi rebels in Yemen tried attacking several commercial ships in the Red Sea this weekend, but the White House now says the U.S. responded by sending a Navy ship to intervene. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan.
We have every reason to believe that these attacks, while they were launched by the Houthis in Yemen, were fully enabled by Iran.
The U.S. shot down at least 3 drones. The White House also warned Congress today to get moving on passing more aid for Ukraine. CBS's Scott McFarland's on Capitol Hill.
In this letter from the Office of Management and Budget, they say in so many words, Ukraine's going to run out of money. The U.S. will run out of money to support the war effort, and that includes with munitions. That includes with battlefield equipment.
If that happens, federal officials say Congress would essentially kneecap Ukraine in its war efforts against Russia.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
Protesters outside the U.S. Supreme Court today, where justices heard arguments over whether a settlement with OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma should protect the Sackler family against opioid-related lawsuits. Chris Gannon's with the Justice Department.
It permits the Sacklers to decide how much they're going to contribute. It grants the Sacklers the functional equivalent of a discharge, what they might get if they themselves were in bankruptcy, though even such a discharge would not extend, as this one does, to claims involving fraud and willful misconduct.
Purdue says there is no settlement without letting the Sacklers off the hook. People in New Hampshire are already digging themselves out of snow as some parts of New England brace for more than half a foot this week. The storms have knocked out power to thousands of homes in Maine and in Vermont. Animal shelters across the country say they are struggling to keep up with all the animals that need care. Kathy Hansen runs animal care centers in New York.
A lot of people are surrendering their animals because of financial pressures. And we think it could also be preventing people from adopting.
Shelters have had to turn animals away because of a lack of space, and they say it puts animals at risk of being euthanized. This is CBS News.
You don't need a job platform, you need a hiring partner. Indeed lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from one place. Start at Indeed.com/credits.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our client's best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured, so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly, different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. Millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results. Brian Bittner of Bittner Antiques shares his experience advertising with WDEV.
We've done a number of recorded ads with WDEV, which have a great response. And we've also been doing live radio call-ins once a week for the past few years. And the response of that has just been amazing.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Brady Farkas Show, WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Patriots lose to the Chargers. Final score 6-0. Danny, there's not much to unpack here. I do want to tell you, though, a little story. Well, not really a story. It could have been worse, is what I'm trying to get at. It could have been worse. My buddy, my best friend, or one of my best friends, I should say, was my college roommate, right? Went to high school together as my college roommate. Diehard Buffalo Bills fan. And we went to Oswego, and Oswego's about 3 hours from Buffalo, 3 hours from Buffalo. So it's not right next door, but it's not super far away. But, look, when you're in college, you don't have a ton of money, right? So he went to a Bills game this would have been our sophomore year of college. And I believe he went with his mom, and she's also a big Bills fan, like diehard Bills fan. So it was something they share together. And he was so excited to go to the game, And it was in early October. And the Bills played the Browns. And the Bills lost by a score of 6-3. Okay? 6-3. So it wasn't 6-0 like the game you saw, but it was 6-3. In this game, the Bills lost, and Browns quarterback Derek Anderson, Danny, went 2 of 17 for 23 yards and won.
What?
The Browns quarterback Derek Anderson went 2 of 17 for 23 yards with a pick and a sack, had a QB rating of 3.1 and won.
What did the Bills quarterback do?
Trent Edwards, 16 of 31 for 152 yards, a pick.
Pretty good game.
In this game, and this had to have been a wind game. You saw a rain game. I think this was a wind game, as I recall. The Browns ran it 41 times for 171 yards. The Bills ran it 35 times for 145 yards. So both teams ran it fairly effectively, and neither team could really move the ball through the air. Bills threw it less than 5 yards per completion, and Derek Anderson went 2 of 17. So weather games too, but it could have been worse, right? You could have seen a 2 for 17 performance out of the opposing quarterback.
True. I mean, Herbert did throw it a bunch. He wasn't very efficient, and they didn't complete that much, but they did throw.
In the game, my buddy saw T.O. was playing for the Bills. 4 catches, 44 yards. Do you remember the T.O. Bills era?
Not really, no.
T.O. at the end played for the Bills and the Bengals both. So, and then Marshawn Lynch played for the Bills, had 56 yards receiving and 70 yards rushing. So pretty good day for beast mode overall in that game. But yeah, my buddy saw a 6-3 loss in which it was Derek Anderson going 2 of 17. Danny, there's not a lot to unpack. It was ugly yesterday, right? With that, the Patriots are now 2-10 on the season, but we do it every single week. Let's get to unpacking the Patriots. What do we got?
Which Patriots popped?
To the 30, to the 20. He is end zone bound. Pick 6. Touchdown, Patriots.
And which ones flopped?
Jones steps up in the pocket, unloads a deep ball, and it's intercepted. That'll put the cherry on top.
We unpack the Patriots now on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Look, the whole thing was ugly. If I'm picking out something good, I got to tell you, I like the way Bailey Zappi moves in the pocket. There were plays early in this game where Zappi extended plays, and for as much as I don't think Zappi is the answer, for as much as I don't think he's better than Mac, his legs and his escapability do allow him to do some things that Mac simply can't do. Mac doesn't move as well as Zappi, and I think Mac takes pride in hanging in there And as a result of hanging in there, he makes some ill-fated decisions. Zappe kind of understood when to get out of things, especially early, and when to maneuver in and around and then ultimately outside the pocket. Danny, there was a play early in the game where he ran for a first down. There was a play where he ran for just short of a first down, but he got out of a bad play and ultimately turned it into a positive. Look, he rushed 4 times for 16 yards. It wasn't like he was Michael Vick out there, but he was able to avoid the rush in some spots and translate it into a first down or two, kept some drives going, got you in better down and distances. He moves easier than Mac. He looks more athletic than Mac. I don't think that he's the answer. I don't even know that he's good enough to be my number 2 quarterback if I'm a really good NFL team, but I like the way he moved in the pocket. I have said this from day one since I got here. I believe if you're going to be a good NFL quarterback in the modern NFL, you have to have the ability to use your legs. And yes, I want you to be able to use your legs like Herbert can use his legs, or like Mahomes can use his legs, or like Josh Dobbs can use his legs. At least those guys have some degree of athleticism that allows them to extend plays. I would really love for you to be like Justin Fields, who could be a great straight line sprinter in addition to a good passer, like Lamar Jackson. But kind of the baseline, the lowest possible amount is what we saw yesterday out of Zappe. He did that well enough early on. I give him credit for it. On the bad side of things, I mean, Zappe's arm strength is clearly not there. Right? It's clearly not there. And we've known it wasn't there. And everybody who wanted to see Zappe all along, I think we saw it yesterday. He had to get everything into some of these throws down the field. It just looks hard. When him and Mac throw the football, it just looks hard. Now, he threw a good ball to Parker down the field that Parker was out of bounds on. He threw a very good ball to Thornton that Thornton dropped. I'm not saying he can't make certain, throws down the field, but he really just has to kind of get everything into it. And the really good ones have that kind of flick of the wrist quality, right? It comes out easy. Josh Allen flicks the wrist, boom. Cam Newton, when he was healthy, flicked the wrist, boom. Right? Heck, even I'm watching Geno Smith flick the wrist, boom. Zappe doesn't have that, right? It takes every ounce of his strength to get the ball deep down the field. Shouldn't be that way. He's not the answer. On a good side of things, second half, he did pass it better, right? If I'm going to be critical of his arm strength, I got to tell you, he did deliver some strikes. He did deliver some balls on time, did have some good accuracy in the second half. Started off the second half, Danny. We've got it in here somewhere. I'll give you a second to find it. Like a 15-yard pass off play action to Devontae Parker. I believe it was third down in this situation. Zappe play fake, rolls right, finds Parker, kind of cutting back across the field towards the sideline, and turned it into a big first down with 2 minutes into the half.
It's a very unforgiving business. Zappe goes play action on second down, looking for somebody, finds Parker.
Okay, second down. Ended up being 15 yards or so, and that was a good start, right? It was a promising drive to start the second half. I said I wanted to see them let Zappe throw it. They let him do that, especially in the second half. He delivered a couple of strikes to Parker. Parker dropped a few of them, had the ball down the field that he dropped. Nice little dig route that he caught, kind of a skinny post that he caught. Delivered some balls on time with some accuracy. Thought he passed it much better in the second half. Again, not perfect, not a lot of arm strength. Did some things you don't love, but there were some balls in there that were thrown well. On the other side of things, I talk about his escapability being a good thing. Well, you also saw his pocket awareness kind of collapse in certain spots as well. He took multiple sacks on third and fourth down, right? They were in field goal range at one point in the third quarter, and he gets sacked by Khalil Mack on one of them that took him out of field goal range. He got sacked by Derwin James on a fourth down again on an all-out blitz. Maybe that's not his fault, but there were multiple sacks. He took 2 sacks in a row at one point that cost you field goal opportunity. So we saw the escapability in the first half. We didn't really see it in the second half, and we needed to have seen it in the second half because it really, those sacks, they mounted. They ended up costing him. And I understand you don't want to see him turn the football over. You don't want to see him throw the ball willy-nilly down the field. A sack is better than a pick. But on third and fourth down, those sacks were important. He ended up taking 5 sacks over the course of the game. Patriots didn't get to Justin Herbert once, just for reference. Did not get to Justin Herbert once. On the positive, overall, the defense, you got to get the defense credit. This is not the defense that we saw a year ago in terms of taking the ball away. They are not creating turnovers. This team needs turnovers created, right? The offense is so anemic. They would need you to go and get a pick six, get a punt return on special teams, get a pick that you trap, you return down to the 10. This offense needs that. They're not getting that. But overall, they're just playing sound defense. You've allowed 10 points or less in 3 consecutive games. In modern football in 2023, that's an insane accomplishment. I got to give them a lot of credit for that. Right? 10 points against Indy, 10 against the Giants, 6 against the Chargers. That's outstanding. And they're doing it without Christian Gonzalez. They're doing it without Matthew Judon. They did it yesterday without Dietrich Wise, who ended up being sick before the game. So, I mean, they're playing solid defense. Justin Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You held him to no touchdowns. You allowed him to 5.7 yards per pass. This team had 24 carries yesterday for 29 yards. 29 yards. 1.2 yards a carry. The longest run of the day yesterday for the Chargers was 7. The Patriots defense is stout. If they were creating turnover opportunities, they'd be in a far different position than they're in now probably as a team, right? The offense is so bad, but if the defense was creating those turnovers like they did a year ago, we might be talking about a team that's hovering near 500. That's how big a difference it can make. But from a pure defensive standpoint, we are seeing a really, really good effort. And look, I know the Giants and the Colts aren't murderers row, but the Chargers are a very good offense. And even in that weather, I would have expected the Chargers offense to be good. Patriots defense made them look not so good. On the negative side of things, the Ramondre Stevenson injury. That's devastating. Ramondre Stevenson is this team's best overall offensive player, right? Certainly their best skill player. He had 9 carries for 39 yards yesterday. That's 4.3 yards a carry. That's pretty good. You extrapolate that out to him getting 20 carries, and we'd be talking about a guy who ended up having, nearly 100 yards. So he was on a 100-yard pace yesterday, and he ends up, he was on he's on an 85-yard pace yesterday. All of a sudden you break one, you end up at 100. This team without Stevenson is certainly not as good offensively, right? Him and Zeke work well as a tandem. Zeke on his own only averaged 3.1 yards a carry. This team needed Ramondre Stevenson. He got hurt, ankle. We don't know what's gonna be the case for him as of now. I can't imagine he plays on Thursday, given the short turnaround. But that's really difficult to see your best offensive player go out when you're already so severely undermanned, right? You're already so severely undermanned. One last thing that bothered me, and this might have been the right decision, but the Patriots are down 6-0 right before the half. They've got, 40 seconds left and 2 timeouts, and they just decided to kneel on the ball. You're 2-9. Let's sling it up there and see what happens. Instead, they go to the locker room. They sit on the ball. Do I think they would have gone 80 yards or whatever to go get a touchdown? Do I think they would have gone 55 yards to get a reasonable field goal? No, but I would have liked to see him try it. But they didn't. It's multiple times this year Bill Belichick has elected to just sit on the ball before the half because he's like, you know what? I would rather not try than put my offense in a position to screw up. I would just rather see you let him play. Danny, that's it. Those are the least extensive takeaways we have had of any Patriots game this year because there's just not much that happened. Right? There's just not much that happened. Texter says, didn't get to see the Pats game, thank God. That seems to have been a very unimaginative game plan. They limited Zappe to less than what he seemed to show last season. I don't know that I agree with that. Frankly. I think that they did a lot of what they did with Zappe last year. I think the weather impacted things, but we saw Zappe roll out. We saw play action, and we saw him take some shots, right? We saw him take some shots, especially in the second half. He threw the ball over the middle of Parker, caught a couple, didn't catch a couple. He threw it deep down the sideline. He threw the deep ball to Thornton that he dropped. So I think we saw a lot of what we saw last year from Zappe. What the difference is, as I recall, right? The Patriots defense last year put him and put this team in constantly good positions offensively. Remember, Zappe started last year against the Lions and the Browns, Danny. The Lions went like 0 for 8 on 4th down. last year. So we talk about Dan Campbell being really aggressive and being a new age coach in terms of going forward on fourth down. That's fine. But when you go 0 for 8, you're constantly giving your defense or giving the other team a bailout. So Zappe had constant short fields. He didn't have to go 85 yards down the field. You look at all the punts that dropped the Patriots inside the 10 yesterday. Zappe's not going 90 yards. He might be able to go 30 when you don't get it on fourth down. I remember Kyle Duggar had a long pick 6, I think, in that game. Jack Jones had an interception in that game, or maybe Duggar's was a fumble on Jared Goff. I can't remember at this point. But the defense for the Patriots created points, created opportunities, created shorter fields, and Zappe was able to exploit it. And then all of a sudden, when you get down and you're the Lions, you're down 17-0, 20-0. Well, now you're taking chances, and now Zappe can beat you over the top. Chargers didn't have to take any chances yesterday. Right? They were in front. They didn't have to take any chances, so it didn't allow Zappe an ultimate opportunity. I think they did a lot of what Zappe can do. He did some of it well. Some of it left something to be desired, and some of it he didn't get help from his teammates. And then the weather, I think, was a limiting factor as well. I think the operation looked good for the Patriots yesterday. Danny, the one thing I noticed, or the one thing that's true, and I don't know if you noticed it in real time when you were watching, there were not many penalties in this game.
No, not really. I don't remember hearing the ref's voice more than twice, really.
I mean, I'm looking at the total number of penalties. There were 7 total penalties yesterday, 4 on the Chargers, 3 for the Patriots. There's only 34 total yards in penalties, right? 7 penalties for 34 yards. So the game was pretty clean in terms of that stuff. The operation, again, I thought was pretty good. We didn't see a lot of the false start stuff. We didn't see a lot of the illegal procedures. We did see a delay of game, which was pretty inexcusable by Zappe. But beyond that, I thought it looked like quarterbacking, but the product on the field continues to not be that great because of the lack of talent. Continues to be not great because of the lack of talent. Tech says weather was a factor. Chargers D has been lacking this season. The Patriots couldn't find the end zone. Yeah, Patriots couldn't find the end zone. That's true. Patriots don't have a lot of talent. They need gifts. They need the defense to create gifts, and they haven't been able to do that this year. Remember, the Patriots had the fumble by Stevenson that would put them deep in Patriots territory. Now, the Chargers didn't score on that, as I recall, but Patriots also turned it over. Like, they need a break like that, where they get the ball at the 25 or something like that. The Ramondre Stevenson tackle, now Tech says, this is from Ross. Zappe played decent last year when he played, and I thought he had potential during the offseason when he fell apart. Look, again, I just said it, though. Zappe came in relief last year. Let me see. Now I'm trying to remember. Zappe, I want to say he came in relief against the Packers, and he looks fairly decent. I think they took the Packers to overtime in that game. And look, nobody knows who Zappe is. There's no scouting report on him, so he plays well when he's unknown. Then they played Detroit, who at the time was bad. Detroit was missing like 6 defensive backs in that game. Detroit went like 0 for 8 on third down. Detroit turned it over a million times. Zappe was able to excel. Did the same thing against the Browns, right? I remember interceptions, set the Patriots up on short fields. Danny, I'm going to look here real quick at last year's Patriots schedule and see if I can find the exact box scores on this stuff. But because I want to prove that I don't think Zappe did anything groundbreaking last year. He didn't make big mistakes, but he got given a whole lot of help. So
10 of 15, 99 yards against the Packers.
Okay, 10 of 15, 99 yards. Again, he comes in relief. What do you do against Detroit?
17 of 21, 188. And
any
a touchdown
touchdowns?
And a pick.
Touchdown and a pick. How many turnovers did the Lions have in that one?
I don't see that right now. I just see the game log for Zappe.
Okay. I think I can find that. Hold on. So in that game, Jared Goff had a pick. They also had a fumble lost. And then on fourth down in that game, the Lions last year were 0 of 6. I said 0 of 8. They were 0 of 6. So you're getting put in that's 6 extra turnovers that the Lions had last year. And Zappe benefits from. And then the next game against Cleveland, Danny, what did he do?
24 of 34, 309, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
Okay, so that's a better performance.
Yeah.
That's a better performance. But there's still, I remember Jacoby Brissett was playing in that game. So the defense was able to play better against Cleveland in that one and also set him up in some more advantageous situations, right? And then they get up, like they won that game big. Brissett throws 2 picks. I think the Browns lost 2 fumbles. So that's 4 turnovers forced there that the Patriots benefit from. So a lot of quarterbacks are going to look better when your defense forces 4 turnovers. I don't think Zappe is anything special to write home about. Text says, yeah, he's very average. Yes, he is very average. Danny, the Ramondre Stevenson tackle is going to continue to get a lot of conversation this offseason. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, but Danny, have you been hearing a lot of chatter about what's called the hip drop tackle?
Yes, I've heard people want to ban it because it's another one of those dangerous ones.
Yep. So that's how Stevenson got hurt yesterday. And I know you're not watching it on TV, so you probably didn't notice that. But you're going to hear a lot of conversation about what Danny just said. The hip drop tackle is something that people want banned because it's dangerous. And it is a little bit hard to explain. It's probably one of these things that's easier shown or demonstrated. But bottom line is, like, picture this, right? If I am coming up, if I'm behind you and I wrap you up at the waist, and then from that point, I just kind of plop you down. Well, now what's happened is the following, or what's potentially can happen is the following. I can tackle you. I can get you by the hip and kind of, pick you up and put you down. And now your back is locked up and that hurts. I am now behind you, and now my knees and legs, my body weight is falling on your knees and legs, and I can hurt your calf, your Achilles, your kneecap, your ankle, like what happened to Stevenson. So that is what people want banned because it is dangerous. I don't doubt that it's dangerous, but I don't know how you can ban it, Danny, because there's so few ways that you can tackle people already, right? Look, you can't hit people up high because we don't want concussions. Fine. We can't hit people really down low because we don't want torn ACLs, right? They have made it so hitting in the head is totally out. We would rather you hit in the legs, and you see a lot more leg injuries. They have done some things to protect your legs, like quarterbacks can't get hit below a certain point, and offensive linemen can't cut block anymore. So they're trying to protect the legs at some point. So now we tell guys to wrap up, but you can't wrap up and suplex the guy anymore. You can't wrap up and twist the guy around and throw your body weight on him if he's a quarterback. So now what people do is they wrap up and they try to just bring you down. But when you do that, you create the hip drop tackle. And Stevenson ends up getting hurt because he gets his ankle landed on, right? Essentially, the defender is behind him, grabs Stevenson by the waist, kind of puts him perpendicular down. As Stevenson's down, now his ankle gets landed on by the defender from behind. It is a dangerous play, but there's only so many ways you can tackle at this point without it being tackle football.
Same tackle that took out Mark Andrews for the year as well.
Mark Andrews, the Ravens tight end.
Yes.
Yeah. And look, there are multiple instances of the hip drop tackle leading to injuries. And maybe it's not a season ender like the serious one to Andrews, but there are several players that have gotten injured from this tackle. At the very least, I think it's uncomfortable for your back. And certainly you can see what you saw lower body-wise to Stevenson as well. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. From NFL football to local football, Norwich University has a new head football coach. His name is Bill Russell. I got a little Bill Russell history. I'll tell you what that is. And the head man of the Cadets, the new head man of the Cadets, is going to join us next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, a company that recognizes the value of Vermont and all things local, municipalities, businesses, and WDEV.
I'd say the Vermont National Guard has been extremely flexible and helpful with being able to get me what I need to do to succeed in the military. I'm Specialist Matthew Durgan, Vermont Army National Guard. Well, right now I'm going to college down in South Carolina at the Citadel. So my unit allowed me to come up and make up all the drills that I wasn't able to do. That way I can still do what I need to do.
Visit btguard.com to find out more. Sponsored by the Vermont Army National Guard. Plainfield Hardware General Store and Deli on Route 2 is a fully stocked hardware store. And now an expanded grocery section with a great selection of organic products, Vermont wines, maple products, and gift cards available too. Plainfield Hardware General Store and Deli has Energy Star Lighting, brought to you by Efficiency Vermont, to help you cut that carbon footprint of yours down to size. If you haven't looked into the new Energy Star approved lighting recently, you're in for a surprise. The selection has grown with many varieties to fit any lighting application. Energy Star compact fluorescent light bulbs use less energy than traditional incandescent bulbs, and they last a lot longer. Join the Energy Star movement with Efficiency Vermont towards highly efficient, money-saving illumination for your home. Visit Plainfield Hardware General Store and Deli on Route 2, midway between East Montpelier and Plainfield. Adorn your home or business with a wreath or beautiful Vermont Christmas trees grown in Montpelier Center. From Plainfield Hardware General Store and Deli. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Vermonters know they can depend on WDEV day to day and in times of crisis. Paul Costello expresses his thoughts on the importance of WDEV.
WDEV, you guys stand for something, and you're like the heart and soul of community radio, and I love that. But, you really all have stepped up in such a great way.
WDEV, in service to the community for 92 years. FM 96.1 and AM 550. Streaming at WDEVradio.com.
John Batchelor inviting you to join me weeknights at 9 for Eye on the World. This nightly news program is essential listening for those who seek to understand current events, global politics, economics, science, and literature. I'll speak with experts to offer context and insight. Eye on the World, weeknights at 9 on Vermont's news station, WDEV AM and FM, and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Danny, ironically enough, my parents were listening today because my dad wanted to hear me talk about the UVM game, and because he was there with me, obviously, he came up for it. My mom says she will donate $10 to the McKivergan Brothers Fund in terms of trying to get you paid back for having gone to that Patriots game yesterday.
Well, that's very generous. Thank you.
My mom was texting me, actually. She texted me yesterday during the game, and she said, "Poor Danny." And I was like, yeah, this game is brutal. She goes, yeah, and the weather's awful too. She felt very bad for you that you and your brother were at that game yesterday.
I had people here feeling bad for me too. I got to go to a game, and I'm not complaining, but yeah, it could have been a lot better.
When is the last time you went to a pro sporting event?
Celtics game last year.
Do you go to a Celtics game every year?
Try to, yes.
Are you excited for the in-season tournament quarterfinal tonight?
Yeah, I assume they'll take it somewhat seriously. So yeah, it should be a good game.
Have you seen if Porzingis is playing tonight?
I believe he's out.
Okay, so that'll be tough, and that is the right move if he's not healthy. I saw some speculation about well, hey, it is the tournament. They care about the tournament. Should you play him because it's a tournament? The answer to that is no. It's
not the finals.
It's not the finals, right? And it's not the finals of the tournament either. So I am excited to see it, though. I am excited. So this is Celtics and Pacers in quarterfinal day 1 of the tournament, so the Eastern Conference semifinal. So see what happens. But right now, so let me tell you real quick. Bill Russell's going to join us in a second. So Bill Russell has been named the new head coach of football at Norwich University. Takes over from Mark Murniak, who's been there a number of years. Murn's been on this show before. a long time ago, right, in 2012 and 2013, I worked at Norwich, right? I've talked about that a lot. You know that. I was the PA guy at Wrightsburg. I worked in the athletic department, etc. Well, I lived in a house with a bunch of football coaches at the time. And one of those football coaches was Bill Russell. So Bill Russell and I were our former roommates. And here we are reconvening on the Brady Farkas Show as he has been given the head coaching job at Norwich University. Coach Russell is with us now. Danny says a long time ago, Bill, we used to sit in a room with a giant moose head and watch and talk about football. And here we are today. Congratulations, my friend. Thanks for being with us. How are you?
Thanks, Brady. I appreciate it, man. We had some good times up on Demassey Way. It was a lot of fun and a lot of growing went on there.
Absolutely, for sure. And I'm happy you got the job when you did, because now I can spend my Monday talking to you instead of talking about a 6-0 Patriots game for more than I have to.
Yeah, I'm sure that's been difficult. But, hey, the narrative has been the Patriots are bad, but I think the narrative should be the Patriots defense is really good.
Patriots defense is pretty good. They're the first team in football history and NFL history to lose 3 consecutive games allowing 10 points or less.
I know. I don't think that's a stat or a record you want to have, but kudos to the defensive guys.
Let's talk about you and this new opportunity for you. You've been on staff, hard to believe now, 15 years. What does this opportunity mean to you to be the next head man at Norwich?
It means a lot, Brady. Norwich football means a lot to a lot of people. I don't think it's a typical Division III coaching situation, not just with football, but Norwich athletics in general. It's truly a special place. And, I've been really fortunate to work under some phenomenal coaches there. And Sean McIntyre, the guy who hired me way back in 2008. And then obviously for a long time under Mark Murniak. And under him, we accomplished a lot of things that had never been done before in the history of Norwich football. So having the opportunity to take the traditions, the history of the program and take them forward and maintain and grow and put my own spin on it as well is something that really means a lot to me. And I feel very, very fortunate to have that chance.
15 years on a staff is a long time. You had mentioned in your press release comments or in the press release comments that you had wanted to run your own program for a while. Why'd you stay at Norwich?
It really is such a special place. And I think, Norwich kind of gets into your blood. The goal was always for me to be a Division III head coach. Early in my career, there were some opportunities to maybe go to a higher level as an assistant. And for various reasons, either it didn't work out and or I passed. Turned out to be the right move every time. So as time went on, the more time I spent at Norwich, the more I realized there really wasn't anywhere else I wanted to be. And I was happy to stay at Norwich for as long as I could, regardless of the role. And it just, I think it fits me very well, my personality and my philosophy, my beliefs. My value system aligns extremely well with what Norwich is all about. And it was kind of really just a match made in heaven. And, as I said, it's a place that gets in your blood and it really kind of takes hold of you. And, I'm just extremely proud to represent, not only the football program, but the university.
We talk all the time at the pro level about guys moving up and getting jobs. And usually, the next head coach of your favorite football team comes from an offensive coordinator position or a defensive coordinator position. Rarely do they come from a special teams background in general, which is kind of where you cut your teeth at Norwich. So talk to me a little bit about kind of your background and the roles you've had on staff to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first got hired, I was working with the outside linebackers. And then I moved over actually to the defensive line for 1 year. And that was actually the year that Sean McIntyre promoted me to special teams coordinator. And then in 2011, I started working with the inside linebackers, which I've been doing ever since, and maintained that special teams coordinator title as well, which I think has been a really valuable thing. And when people look at, putting somebody in charge of their program, I think you're right that they often look at offensive and defensive coordinators. But, at the college level especially, those special teams guys are the ones who really work with everybody on the roster, and tend to have a pretty good finger on the pulse, I think, of the offensive players, the defensive players, because, everybody's really involved in the special teams game. So I think it gives a pretty unique perspective on the roster makeup and the backgrounds of guys and what their skill sets are. I really hope that maybe there'll be a trend going forward of kind of looking at it differently and, kind of evaluating those guys and that are working with the top to bottom of the roster. And when it's time to put somebody in charge and maybe have somebody be a head coach, that there's really a unique perspective there. I think it's probably undervalued.
Norwich University new head football coach Bill Russell with us here on the Brady Farkas Show, WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Sometime, 5-6 years ago, Norwich switched conferences and has taken it on the chin, at least win-loss record in that time in this new conference. How do you go about trying to, restore pride is the wrong answer because Norwich has always had that, but kind of build up that schedule again from a win-loss perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, we transitioned over into the new MAC, which in my opinion is one of the best conferences in the Northeast. Some really, really good schools, some great academic institutions, and some great football programs as well. I think, the simplest answer in athletics, I think you solve a lot of your problems with recruiting. And, as we put together the new staff going forward, there's going to be a heavy emphasis on effective recruiters who have a track record of recruiting at a high level, particularly in the Northeast, but also looking at some of the relationships they may have built over their careers elsewhere. Norwich is kind of a national name brand that has some really unique things and strong programs that can attract kids from all over the country. We really have to leverage that and lean into the Norwich identity. And again, Coach Caulfield, our director of strength and conditioning at Norwich, his slogan is kind of so simple, it's hard. And I really think that applies to a lot of things. If we get there and relentlessly recruit the kids that we want in our program, I think we have a chance to be competitive for sure among some other great programs. And, that's what our competition is doing. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be, recruiting every day. It's people saying coaching, recruiting's like shaving. If you're not doing it every day, you look like a bum. So, we're going to emphasize recruiting. We're going to emphasize leveraging the value of a Norwich education and the, uniqueness of a Norwich experience. And, there's only one way to do it. It's recruit hard and get the right kids in and relentless effort from everyone in the program. We talk a lot all the time about relentless effort from players and what they need to do to get better. But I think your coaches have to be equally as relentless on the recruiting trail, on the development trail, make sure they're always improving as well. So excited to see kind of how things take shape and feel really good about the staff that we're putting together and that we're going to be able to make some significant headway and be a competitor in the new match.
I've talked with coaches from Ivy League schools about this before. I've talked with coaches from engineering schools about this before, and it's always an interesting conversation. Talk to me a little bit about the recruiting that goes on at Norwich, right? It's a heavy military influence school. Not every player on your roster is in the Corps of Cadets, but I'm still trying to figure out 10 years later, is it a good thing in recruiting because you're recruiting a smaller group of kids that want a military lifestyle? There's less of them, but it's more focused where you're trying to get them against, 7 other schools, or is it a deterrent because you are starting with a much smaller pool per se?
I think I'm going to answer that with kind of a broad answer. And I was actually just talking to one of our alums about this the other day. I think what a lot of people view as challenges at Norwich in recruiting are actually strengths. And you referenced that Corps of Cadets in our history as the first private military college in the country, the birthplace of ROTC, and one of the 6 senior military colleges. That is something unique that not many schools have to offer. And regardless of whether you're a student in the Corps of Cadets or you choose the traditional college path at Norwich, I think that all that reputation, all that history enhances the environment. It's a place where, to sound cliche, but duty, honor, country, and, service to others, service before self, all those things are important to us at Norwich. And I think the military, piece of us in our history, obviously is a huge, attractive piece for students who are looking for that and want to be in our Corps of Cadets. And on the other side of the coin, I think even if they are a civilian student and not participating in the Corps, it really gives them a great environment to be a part of. So, just the uniqueness of Norwich. I really talk in recruiting about it being kind of a one-of-a-kind school. When you look at the schools in America at every level and every size, the only two schools set up kind of exactly the same way are Texas A&M and Virginia Tech. Obviously they're so much larger than we are. They're not really exactly like us. So, I like to talk about one-of-a-kind schools lead to one-of-a-kind opportunities. And, if there's a student out there that is interested in the Corps of Cadets and ROTC and is a good football player, we're going to recruit that kid really, really hard. And by the same token, if there are other students who are maybe interested in that kind of environment, that kind of learning environment, but maybe aren't looking at the Corps, but they want to be a part of a great history and a great tradition, we're going to go after those kids too. And, I think selling the uniqueness of Norwich is really important. And, right, wrong, or indifferent, I think, Norwich is kind of one of the best kept secrets in the Northeast. And our job is to make sure that message is getting out with the value of a Norwich degree and the value of a Norwich experience. And, really, really leaning into how unique Norwich is and trying to target those kids who are looking for something a little bit different.
Bill, I'll get you out of here on this. I have no idea kind of how much other college football your players are watching, but does anything happen special on Saturday at Norwich for the football team with Army-Navy playing?
What's really happened in the past is the kids will, again, particularly those kids in the Corps of Cadets, they'll get together in a space on campus in one of the rooms that maybe has a bigger screen, and they'll get together, they'll watch the game together. They'll have some food brought in, and you get the rooting segments broken up between the kids maybe who are in the Army ROTC and the Naval ROTC, and I think maybe the Air Force ROTC kids just kind of pick a side. But it's obviously something that I think means a lot to our kids. And the reality of it is, if they're one of those kids on the commissioning track, they're watching guys on TV, that there's a chance that they could be serving with a couple of years down the line. So it's something pretty special to them. They enjoy it. They have a lot of fun with it. And we as a staff do everything we can to facilitate them getting together, watching it, and having a nice time together.
Coach Bill Russell, new head coach over at Norwich, 15 years on staff, gets the big job opportunity here in the offseason of 2023-2024. Coach, congratulations. Best of luck to the cadets. We'll catch up down the road. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Brady. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. There goes Bill Russell, the new Norwich University football coach and my former roommate. Danny, that was a wild time. Not that we were wild. It was just wild, the setup. There was a big house at Northfield, right down the street, walking distance from the university. And we had like 10 people that lived there. It was like 3 floors. We had like 10 people that lived there. As I recall, I lived there. We had 3 football coaches. The woman who owned the house, her daughter lived there. We had a tech guy at Norwich, and there was somebody else there also. So maybe we had 6 or 7 people and felt like more. But yeah, that was wild. And one of those guys was Bill Russell, who lived with us, which was, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, Northfield's a different dynamic, right? Like, so this town is so small. Like, we kind of hung out with each other. Like, you're not going out in town anywhere really because the students are out in town. So we hung out with each other, and those guys worked a ton, right? Football coaches were working a ton. They practiced late, they'd watch film, they'd be out recruiting. So they weren't around that much. But when they were around, we'd all be together. We'd be watching football. We'd be watching baseball, kind of in their off season, et cetera. So it was a good time overall. So we'll come back. That was Coach Bill Russell. You can find that interview shortly on our podcast channel on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. I want to talk a little bit more about the UVM game, but I want to save a lot of my takeaways on it for tomorrow. So a little bit of Catamounts wrap up from their big win over the weekend against Yale. We'll get to that next here on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
Thinking about holiday gifts? This season, give a gift that's perfect for kids of all ages. The gift of education. Vermont's 529 savings plan, sponsored by VSAC, makes it easy to save for future college or training. Open an account with as little as $25 or add any amount to an existing account. Grandparents, family, and friends can give too. Learn more at vsac.org/save. That's vsac.org/save.
For many, Vermont offers the quintessential winter experience. But for some of our neighbors, It's a difficult time making ends meet. The Radio Vermont Group is pleased to once again partner with Capstone Community Action to help our neighbors in need have fuel and food this winter. And we're once again asking for your generosity. Media coverage is underwritten in part by
Packard Fuels, your neighborly fuel company that keeps you warm. Visit them at packardfuels.com. Guy's Farm and Yard in Morrisville, Montpelier, Williston, and St. Albans, and at guysfarmandyard.com. Waterbury Service Center, full service on Main Street. Waterbury Sports. Gear up for fun on the snow at Waterbury Sports. Lease or buy. Waterbury Sports, Main Street, Waterbury. Bragg Farm Sugar House and Gifts. Maple syrup, cheese, gifts, and more. Open daily from 8:30 to 5. 1005 Route 14N in East Montpelier. BraggFarm.com.
The Radio Vermont Group urges you to help fuel your neighbors this winter. Go to WDEVradio.com to learn more. And go to fuelyourneighbors.org to donate today.
Hey, Mike. I usually run into your wife, Susan, here at the supermarket, not you.
Susan had to find a part-time job. Ever since we retired, it's getting harder to make ends meet. I mean, look at these prices.
I know. Have you heard about benefitscheckup.org?
Benefitscheckup.org?
Yeah, benefitscheckup.org is a free website where people over 60 can see if they qualify for help to pay for food, medicine, even utilities. Benefitscheckup.org has helped 7 million people get $30 billion in benefits.
Are you sure it's not a scam?
Listen, benefitscheckup.org is run by the nonprofit National Council on Aging. It helped me get $1,200 a year in benefits.
See ya. I'm going home now to visit benefitscheckup.org.
Wait, you can use it on your smartphone too. And it looks like you've got the time with this line. Benefitscheckup.org helped me. Maybe it can help you.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back to the Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. All right. I was going to talk about UVM a little bit more in their win. The great comeback victory down 5 points with 3.8 seconds to play in the game. I was going to talk about that. Win 66-65, but instead, Texter says, I want to hear more from Danny about going to the game. So, Danny, number one, I would ask the Texter, where were you the first half hour of the show? We talked a lot about Danny going to the game. I'm creating a GoFundMe so we could pay Danny back for all he spent this weekend because the game was so terribly played.
The UVM game was much more interesting.
The UVM game was interesting. I do have a couple other questions for you, Danny. I am curious. Did you have any characters sitting near you? First year I went, there was a really drunk guy that kept almost falling up the stairs. Any good characters sitting next to you?
There was a guy a couple rows in front that was, he was mostly joking with his friend, but yelling at him to sit down. Funny for the first time, right? And then, okay, we get it.
Did anybody puke near you on the train?
Nope. Okay. Lucked out there.
Was there any reason to clap in the game?
Maybe a couple times. Like, they try to get you amped up for a third down. Yeah, that's about it.
Were you annoyed by the
No, I love that.
Every third down, you love that?
Yeah.
I get annoyed by that even on TV.
And they do it like, they cut it in half when it's like the beginning of the drive, they do it.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't realize that until I saw it live.
Did you find it weird to watch the game without the third down marker?
A little bit. I mean, it was a little bit of a guessing game sometimes, right? Like, was that a 3-yard gain, a 5-yard game? You kind of had to and then you look at the TV, obviously it tells you, but it's not obvious right away.
Did you boo the team at all?
No.
The people around
didn't have it in me.
Boo the team.
Not really around me. There was some boos towards the end, of course, but it wasn't the whole stadium of people booing.
How was the train entirely into Fox? Right, so you get right to Foxborough Station, which is right outside the stadium. You took it from Pawtucket. How was your train ride?
But flawless, pretty much. I don't know if you had this too. When you get there, they made us sit for quite a while for whatever reason before we got off, and then when we got off, there was, obviously a long line of people. It felt like there was only one exit, so it took, literally 5+ minutes to get off the train.
Did you have any issue bringing things into the stadium? Because Jess last year when we went ended up having to check her bag because her purse was like 6 centimeters too big.
Did they put it on a truck? I saw that truck there. It's a mobile lockers, I guess they called it.
Yes, it was a mobile lock.
Interesting.
Yes, mobile lock.
I'd never seen that before. But no, we didn't bring anything in other than phones and wallets.
What did you eat at the game?
Like I said earlier, if people heard burger there, they actually had Vermont Cabot cheddar on the burger. So how about that?
I really, that sounds good, but I really wish you had gotten the sausage and pepper sandwich.
I didn't see that though. Maybe we should have taken more of a walk, but I didn't see that.
It was right there when you walked out of your seats, and then just right behind you, basically, there was sausage and peppers and beer.
Interesting. I saw burgers on one stand, and then next to it was wings, French fries, stuff like that. I don't remember seeing that.
Any other big takeaways from your trip to Foxborough?
You put me on the spot here. I don't know. Terrible game, obviously, but it was still fun to be there.
I'm
like
amazed
I said earlier
by your lack of memory on certain plays. Like earlier off air, I was asking, oh yeah, how about that play? The pass here to Thornton he dropped. You're like, yeah, I don't quite remember that one. I'm like, that was the play.
I feel like, I remember the Thornton run, but other than that, it was all just kind of a blur of nonsense and not, gaining yards.
Just a rainy blur. Did you?
We talked about the rain earlier, right? Like it looks like it's pouring on TV, but it's not. It's just drizzling the entire time.
Because the Patriots didn't even score a touchdown, you didn't get to see the militiamen fire off their muskets.
They fired it at the beginning of the game to get everybody pumped up, and that was it.
How crowded was it?
I would say, I checked the ESPN app. It said 100%. There's no way. I would say it was probably 60%. Couldn't see the people above us, so I don't know, how full that section was. But you look across at the 300 levels, they were not even half full in there.
How big was the big video board?
Massive, and it was right by our faces, but in our peripheral vision. So wasn't the easiest thing to look at. We were mostly looking at the far one, but like massive, like bigger than you think.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I had a great time at UVM as well. That was a great game. We're going to talk a lot more Catamount Hoops tomorrow. We got our bi-weekly conversation with Emma Utterback from the UVM women's team. They had a good win yesterday against Holy Cross, winning that game by 2. So combined, UVM team has won by 3 points this weekend. Catamount women are back over 500 at 5-4. I got many more takeaways on the UVM men and that victory against Yale and what we're seeing right now out of that team. That's 7-2. So, Danny, glad you traveled safe. Glad you are back. And Celtics tonight in the in-season tournament quarterfinal against the Indiana Pacers. We'll have more on that tomorrow as well. Monday Night Football. I'm actually interested in this one. Bengals and Jaguars. Go download the podcast. We'll see you tomorrow on WDEV, AM and FM, at WDEVradio.com.
Looking to brighten up your home and save on energy costs? Barry Electric and Lighting is proud to partner with Efficiency Vermont to help you find the perfect light fixture. Their expert staff can show you table lamps, track lighting, recessed lighting, and more that will enable you to use Energy Star certified LED light bulbs. LED bulbs provide the same brightness, but with 90% less energy consumption, which means big savings for you. Visit Barry Electric and Lighting today on the Barry Montpelier Road or online at barryelectric.com.
This is David Goodman. Join me every Wednesday at 1 o'clock for the Vermont Conversation, brought to you by vtdigger.org, Vermont's nonprofit news source. I'll talk with national and local change makers from the worlds of politics, social and racial justice, science, education, and the environment who are having an impact on our daily lives. You can also hear the Vermont Conversation at vtdigger.org or sign up for our podcast. Join me and take part in the Vermont Conversation Wednesdays at 1 here on WDEV.
I'm Joe Don Rooney from Rascal Flats, and I absolutely love being a part of this band. It's an honor and really a lot of fun. Sometimes, though, you can feel the pressure to perform night after night. It can get stressful. Thankfully, I know my bandmates will look out for me, and I'll look out for them. When you see a friend feeling the effects of stress, let them know you're there for them. Sometimes that's all they need. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
At Northfield Savings Bank, we celebrate the ways you work and why you work. To build a business, to make a brighter future, to do something that matters. You don't do just one thing in your business, neither do we. Whatever your size, you have goals for yourself and those around you. Our commitment is helping you get there. Builders, makers, doers. Northfield Savings Bank. Find out more about us at nsbvt.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Brent Curtis. High school basketball in WDEV gets started Wednesday, December 13th from Hazen Union High School in Hardwick with the Dave Morris Invitational. Opening games on Wednesday night, consolation and championship games on Friday. And tune in all season long for the biggest high school basketball games in Central Vermont on Northfield Savings Bank High School Basketball on WDEV, presented by Jolly Convenience Stores.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top at Sugarbush at 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield. In Barrie at 96.5. In Montpelier at 98.3. Along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury, Montpelier. Streaming at WDEVradio.com. 92 years of serving Vermont. The friendly pioneer, WDEV.
Ground offensive in Gaza intensifies. Israel says it's expanding its ground war against Hamas. Houthi rebels target Red Sea ships.
They have enough missiles to harass shipping.
Supreme Court considers OxyContin maker's bankruptcy deal.
It grants the Sacklers the functional equivalent of a discharge.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Israel says it's expanding its ground assault against Hamas, leaving little room for safety in Gaza. CBS's Chanel Call has heard from Israeli government spokesman Eylon Levy. Almost no place in Gaza is safe. Israel says it's expanding its ground war against Hamas, telling those who evacuated northern Gaza to now leave parts of the south as well.
IDF forces have almost totally dismantled 2 Hamas brigades in northern Gaza in intense fighting, and we are working to dismantle the Hamas terror machine in the southern Gaza Strip too.
As the war wages on, an escalation in the region involving the U.S. Sunday, an American destroyer responded to 3 separate drone attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says they believe the Red Sea attacks were launched by Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. CBS's David Martin points out
The U.S. doesn't want to get stuck with the job of escorting all ships by itself. So one of the things that's happening right now is that the Pentagon is looking for other navies who would participate in an escort operation.
The Biden administration makes an urgent appeal to Congress, pushing for immediate action on stalled aid for Ukraine. CBS military consultant Jeff McCausland.
The United States is the leader of the NATO alliance, and there's more and more concern that if the United States starts to show that its support for Ukraine is waning, then that will trickle through